Welcome to another edition of David Bryant Reports. I am David Bryant. Today I want to talk about a word that's quite in vogue across our country right now. It's the word woke. What does it mean to be woke? Initially, what that means is to be so fully aware of certain critical issues like racial injustice, racism, the inequalities of income, the plights of the poor, and so on. That's what it originally meant, a person who's become fully awake and fully alive to those kinds of issues. Now, it has political connotations and often is considered to be a part of liberal politics. But I want to take that word and use it in a very different way because it's become so popular internationally. It's actually was included last year. It's a brand new word in the English dictionary by the Oxford Dictionary Company. The word woke. I want to take it and apply it to those of us who are followers of Jesus. What would it mean for us to be woke as Jesus followers? I don't know if you knew that last week a very significant event took place. It was called the National Collegiate Day of Prayer, and it involved thousands of students on campuses from coast to coast who came together during that day on their campuses to pray. And in the evening, there was a mass prayer rally at Baylor University of students in prayer that was broadcast nationwide. And the reason they came together to pray is because they're woke. They have awakened in a new way to the desperate need for what I call a Christ awakening. They were praying for revival in our nation. They were concerned about the battle that's going on for the destiny of the American church, which in many ways is a battle for the destiny of the nation as a whole. They were woke to the need to pray for God's people to become a fully aware, wholly alive, in whole new ways to the whole vision of the whole Christ. They were praying for the Spirit of God to be poured out upon God's people in this land in a way that would saturate us with the spectacular supremacy and the wonders and the glories of the saving power of Jesus Christ in the lives of God's people so that we could begin in a new way to saturate our communities with the love and gospel of Christ. That's the way they were praying. Young people, all on the same day. And as that was going on, it reminded me of another similar event of young people called the Wide Awakes. Only this took place back in 1860. It was a movement of young people that began in Connecticut and spread to states all over the North, at least. It involved over 500,000 young people eventually. And sometimes they would lead parades through the center of the major cities, big, large parades, lots of people watching. They wore capes that they called the Capes of Good Hope because they were so full of hope that there would be a change in our nation. You see, they were wide awakes, meaning they were woke to the evils of slavery. They were woke to the righteous cause of the abolitionist movement. They were woke to the need for a moral renaissance in our nation. And they got out and they said so, and they did something about it. And they were responsible in many ways for the election of Abraham Lincoln in 1860. And as all those students were praying last week, I thought, that's what we need right now. We need another movement of wide awakes, of Christians, young and old, who are woke to the crisis that we're in. I call it a crisis of Christology, a crisis of vision among God's people of how they really see God's Son for who he is and all that he is right now in his ascended glory. They need to be awakened. They need to be woke to this battle for the destiny of the American church. They need to be woke as well to all the promises of God, of all that he wants to do to renew and restore and revive and remobilize his people in passion and love and devotion to his Son. So many promises like that. They need to be woke to the fact that Jesus is supreme and all that means and all that implies for our lives together as God's people and for this hour in history as well. You know, I was with a group of wide awakers just a few days ago. It was a conference that took place. It involved about 1,000 Christian leaders from New York City down to Philadelphia. It was called the Saturate Conference. It lasted for 3 days, and it was designed to prepare us for what's called Jesus Week, which will take place toward the end of spring and has for a number of years now, when in communities all through this region, churches will come together and mobilize in order to do outreach, to minister to the poor, to share the gospel with as many people in their cities as they can. Here in New York City, we've seen literally millions of people over the last few years in Jesus Week come into a fresh encounter with the gospel of Jesus Christ. We even end with a huge rally that takes place in Times Square during our Jesus Week. And we came together under a threefold objective for Jesus Week: Christ saturation, prayer saturation, city saturation. And what we say is that unless God's people are saturated with the person of Christ, they will not be woke enough to really carry out the kind of prayer and city saturation that we intend when we talk about Jesus Week. So I feel like, yes, the time has come for us to have a wide awake movement. A wide awake movement that is woke to the kind of vision that David Platt talks about. David Platt is a younger leader. He was the head of the International Mission Board of the Southern Baptist Convention, and then he now pastors the mega church in Washington, D.C., McLean Bible Church, with about 8,000 members. But for years, he has been woke, and he has been calling Christians to get woke to what we're doing with the gospel and what we're doing to Christ in our churches right now. And he just recently published a book. The title of it is Don't Hold Back, Leaving Behind the American Gospel to Follow Jesus Fully. And in a recent podcast, here's what he said. He said, we need to get back to the biblical gospel instead of a false gospel that prostitutes Jesus. I'm convinced that it's not just an American dream that is consuming our lives. It is an American gospel that is hijacking our very hearts. The biblical gospel exalts Jesus above everything. But he writes, or he said on the podcast, we've exchanged the biblical gospel for an American gospel that prostitutes Jesus for the sake of comfort and power and politics and prosperity in our country, and the effects of that are all around us. Oh, would you join with me and here at ChristNow.com as we labor for a wide awake movement that has the kind of vision of David Platt, that has the vision of Paul when he writes in Ephesians 5, awake you who are asleep. You're sleeping on Jesus. Wake up and rise out of the dead, he says, and let Christ really shine on you. May we be so woke at this hour for Jesus' sake. Well, that's the end of my report for today, but join me next time as we continue to look at the world around us through King Jesus glasses. I look forward to seeing you then.